Getting paid to turn VPNs on. A nice quick one that happened on Friday. It was a really slow day. We were at the point we were sat there waiting for stuff to come in. User emails in, can't access shared drive, can you remote in and check what's up? I thought, VPN's probably gone and she hasn't noticed. I connected on in record time. I'd say within 15 seconds of the email coming in, yeah, we're really bored. I checked and yes, the VPN was disconnected. I turned it back on and opened up the shared drive. I messaged her saying the VPN had turned off and she's good to go now. She thanked me and that was that. We get ones like that often, especially with people working from home. I don't mind them. People just don't notice. About an hour or two later she emails in again. Exact same issue. I connect on and check the VPN. It's disconnected again. I reconnect it. Open up the shared drive. I message her again, this time properly explaining that the VPN was disconnecting and if she can't access resources, she needs to check it and turn it on. She acknowledged this, and thanked me. Guess what came in a few hours later? That was strike 3 for me. Twice is fine. This is too much now. I know this user. They know what a VPN is and a basic understanding of how it works. I connect on and do the same thing for the third time. I call her and ask if she checked the VPN like I told her to last time. She said she hadn't because she thought it was a different issue. Really can't understand people sometimes. Yes, the third time this same issue has occurred. Must be something else that's caused it this time. Anyway, I talk her through the 3-click process over the phone and explain to do that first, before contacting us. She again acknowledged this and thanked me. Not heard from her again so hopefully she got the idea. I'm guessing she was just bored on a Friday. Can't blame her. I certainly was. Undefined. She's got an issue with her home broadband, keeps disconnecting from her machine every now and again, then reconnects before she notices. We get this. I've found that it's not so much that it's a problem, it's that the VPN fails silently. When we started WFH, the one we had flashed a big message from the notification area, the one we replaced it with doesn't. It is more reliable overall though. Have that issue as well. Some providers here have an IP lease time of 60 minutes on their routers, so some users get disconnected every hour. Setting the IP lease time to max solves the problem so they don't get disconnected all the time. Depends which internet provider, router they're using though. But usually solves the problem for my users. I also guess it depends on what VPN you're using. Unless there's a shortage of addresses in the DHCP scope, a short lease time shouldn't cause a disconnect. DHCP client are supposed to use the half-time method. That is, they should send a lease refresh request to the DHCP server when half of the lease time is up. If they don't get a reply, they send a new request when a quarter of the lease time is left, and then when an eighth of the lesser time left. After a couple of tries, the client will then decide that the DHCP server is down and send a broadcast request for a new IP lease from any listening DHCP server. And if that fails, it will assign itself a self-assigned 169 address. Short lease times should be avoided since they cause an unnecessary amount of lease refresh requests in the network. In our company environment, that makes sense and is the case. But I was talking about the users working from home. It's their private internet provider that has it set up in their router. For some reason, the leading ISP in our country has a default IP lease time set up to be 1 hour. If our users work from home, so VPN connects with XIP currently on the laptop, the lease time of 1 hour changes the IP the laptop has in the home network. VPN doesn't see the original up anymore, disconnects. User reconnects and VPN uses new IP address. Speak deconstruction. But changing the IP lease time seems to work. That is total hot garbage. Every DHCP server on the market maintains a database of MAC IP addresses and gives out the same IP address every time a specific MAC requests an IP address. It might be an in-memory database that goes away when the router is rebooted, but that mapping should be maintained. Nobody writes their own DHCP server anymore. They take one of the common BSD licensed DHCP servers and repurpose them for their router. For a router to give out a different IP address for a fixed MAC means that something is corrupting that router's MAC IP database. Probably some modification by that vendor that broke it. Incompetence is so frustrating. Yes, I've been supporting remote users who should never have been remote users for the past year. Sub-megabit internet connections, 10-year-old Wi-Fi, so far away their connection drops continuously. A user who calls for support multiple times per week, but her computer is on the kitchen table but the phone is in the bedroom, she won't use Teams. It's been rough. And then there's the people who think using an Ethernet wireless extender for a VoIP phone is standard practice. Actually had one guy say in the office, I sit under a wireless point. Isn't that what the phone connects to? No, dude. No. They should make a cordless phone that uses Wi-Fi though tbh. Any smartphone will do SIP over Wi-Fi. And most modern phone systems will have mobile apps and or WebRT clients. Users don't like those because they're not desk phones. The problem is you're holding her hand. If it happens again, you need to get her to check the VPN and turn it on herself, even if you are connected remotely to watch. If you keep fixing it for her, she won't learn, no matter how many times you send her the instructions. I can confirm this is how it works for my mother at least. If I explain but let her do all the actions, she's much more likely to remember how to do something than when I just do it for her. After 3 tickets for the same issue, consider reaching out to their manager requesting they get additional training for the part of their job they are incapable of doing. So much this. You cannot fix a picnic problem by adjusting the second C. At least she didn't blame you for her VPN being disconnected. We just had to deal with, it can't be my home network. I'm watching YouTube in my phone. My kids are watching Netflix each on a different device. My teenage boy is streaming games and my husband is downloading a bunch of stuff, so obviously my home network is fine. In her defense, when you say this is the 3rd time the issue occurred, it could be that the VPN issue manifested itself in a different way this time. It sounds like that from what she said. Well, she could have at least tried the thing that solved the previous 2 problems before asking for help again from the person who told her that twice. I have a user who has home office written into her contract, and has allegedly been successfully using VPN for the last 15 years. However, I have been the help desk for 10 of those years, and when I tell you at least once a week she tells me her computer done, it turns out she hadn't even logged into the VPN. Install a job on her machine that reconnects the VPN every 5 minutes. Depending on the VPN server, watch the flood of tickets come in, as this one user has eaten all the VPN user licenses with constant reconnects because they reconnect every 300 seconds, and the license doesn't time out and release until 5,000 seconds. Here's a tip for you. Stop trying to supply technical solutions to something that is a user issue, if they aren't smart enough to realize the VPN has dropped them. Or smart enough to check. Or smart enough to bother trying to hit reconnect before contacting IT for help repeatedly. It doesn't matter how technically brilliant your solutions are, you're shouting into the void. The user needs remedial training, reminders _not_ more technomancy. You cannot fix a picnic issue by focusing on the second C. You have to fix the first C. Problem in chair, not in computer. Time for some delay mail. I saw a presentation once about a guy who put a 24-hour delay on all of his incoming mail. Anything urgent, they'll call you. Most of the emails were resolved by the user when they realized it would be an indeterminate amount of time before they got a response, and it definitely wouldn't be soon. Man, can't wait for WireGuard to be better supported and this being no longer an issue with VPNs. In my experience, NAT is the biggest issue that causes VPNs to not work as they should. What does WG do to mitigate this? You can activate a Keep Alive, but that feature is present in all VPNs. What makes WireGuard good for roaming is that the handshake is very fast. TL, doctor, and much better explained here. Not only that, from what I understand, WireGuard doesn't connect in the traditional sense with handshakes and server-client communication to set up the tunnel. Because there is no need to do that. Basically, the client encrypts the packet with server's public key and sends it to server endpoint. If server can decrypt the packet and client's public key is in server config, the packet is accepted, decrypted, and sent on its merry way. The server remembers client's endpoint for communication to the client. If the endpoint has changed, then it just remembers the new one. So basically it takes a single packet from client to re-establish the two-way communication if the client IP has changed. Persistent Keep Alive just does that for you. The client can do the same thing by just running a ping through that tunnel. And if the server can't decrypt or the client is unknown, the packet just gets dropped silently. There is no IK handshake. But WireGuard has a handshake to prevent all communication to be encrypted using the same key, which is a bad idea for obvious reasons. I love how some tech support calls end up not being about tech support at all, but about common sense support. Like seriously, how few brain cells do some people have to not understand how to plug something into the wall jack? Like, do you not have a TV, or any other device in your house that uses electricity? User, but it's wireless. Why do I have to plug it in? /s. Sounds like the type of stuff I deal with on a daily basis. People are unwilling to learn or take responsibility. I see that you are working with our bookkeeper. We are all using a VPN very successfully to work from home. Our bookkeeper says hers is down multiple times a day throughout the whole pandemic. No one else out of a large office has this problem. She probably lives in the boonies where only satellite internet is available and has 87 family members all streaming Speep on different devices. That's how this story usually goes. I read a story recently about an 8-year-old who discovered she could lock her Zoom account to get out of online classes. This feels similar. Just did that myself, testing our new domain controls. You must work in my office. It'd check her power settings on the Wi-Fi card. It's also for Citrix etc. Disconnects VPN halfway through reading this, and starts grabbing phone. Oh man, that is just precious. We have 2 remote capabilities at our company. It's quite forward thinking of them. For once, one is standard VPN with a timeout of 8 hours. The other is not a true VPN, but it lets you access most company resources. That connects you for 7 days. There are continuous notifications when it expires. Now there is a user who calls every week that company websites are not working. We remote in and connect him. It has been going on for a year and he still does not get it. But at least now his own device is configured for MFA, not his manager's. I love Tier 1 desk work. I thought I posted this with my lack of sleep brain. What the feep? I had this same thing happen to me all of 20 minutes ago. This user directly messages me once every month or so to say she can't access her shared drive folder. Every single time I send the exact same response: are you connected to the VPN? If not, let me know and I can remote onto your computer and see what the issue is, and every time she responds, yes, that was the issue, thank you. I'm not even annoyed anymore, it's routine at this point. Today it happened twice cause she needed it in the morning and then somehow locked herself out of her account in the time it took me to get another coffee. ISP using carrier grade NAT. My VPN auto reconnects most of the time. WideIFN. Support WireGuard. Unblock any content. Wide VPN looks like a commercial VPN service that uses VPN protocols for proxying traffic. The VPN in this story is used to connect to network resources in a private network. The commercial VPNs and actual intended usage of VPNs like in this story are very different, and one can't be used for other. Dude, when I was doing this bull speep, it was literally the opposite way around. I was so concentrated on solving these people issues I was like giving the on-site company support team a hard time cause, no matter how many times they called me over simplistic things, I'd felt not accomplishing what they'd needed me. TJ was simply unacceptable. TJ me. Honestly got yelled at for it too. Hit up like all 5 of the direct company's help desk and app support like lady on the phone for who knows how many times in a row. And I just send a text like I guess no one picks up their cell phone. I'd man beeping blows trying TJ do sub help desk work and you don't have full ad access for app support or the ability to solve these simple help desk problems like because of credential issues. And yeah, totally had my boss come to me like, what are you doing? That text isn't appropriate. They were probably busy. And I'm just like, there is a reason why everyone who calls us asks for me. I can't accept not accomplishing my job. And he looks at me like, no one else cares that much, why do you? And I just couldn't understand that sentiment at all and went back. TJ my work. Like all right and defined. Lolf peep man, I have ad meds, all I can think about is accomplishing tasks. Disregard everything else. Dude, are you okay? You seem to be posting these inane, disjointed and frankly appallingly spelled rants all over Reddit. Also ellipses don't work in the way you're using them. It makes you sound a bit slow.